Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carey Pena, and thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play, and for watching us online at YouTube and Facebook. You can always find all of our content at inspiredmedia360.com. Today, we are doing a show that I've really wanted to do for some time now. In studio with us is 21-year-old Kainoa Spenser and his coach, my good friend, Jesse Holland. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Kainoa, I've been stalking you. So let's just put it out there because I wanted to have you here to tell your story because your story is one of strength, recovery, inspiration, but it's not a place that you expected to be. We're going to talk about a journey that you guys are going on together. But first, it's important to share with the audience how you got here.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what happened?
Yeah, so just a little over a year and a half ago, I was finishing up my sophomore year of college at Seton Hall. And it was finals weekend and sort of just getting everything closed together, finishing up finals, getting packed, getting ready to come home, fly across the country. And that weekend I just woke up not feeling good one day. And the next day I tried to get through it, but I passed out in one final, was like limping around. So at 2 a.m. at one night, I had my friend drive me to the closest emergency room. And I had pneumonia, so I ended up coming home and everything, being able to fly home and just be happy that I was with my family. And I had to be wheeled onto the airplane, wheeled off. I was so sick at this point. And it was from coming here that I was rushed immediately to Honor Health, where I was then having total organ failure and just a complete body failure from what we had found out I had contracted was strep group A. And when I was moving boxes out of my dorm room, I hit my leg on my left leg, and where I hit it, it had mutated into flesh-eating bacteria. And I contracted necrotizing fasciitis, just 1 in a billion chances, if not greater, like 1 in a trillion. So that really is what started to happen when I was coming home from Jersey, and it all culminated right when I went into Honor Health and then had to be moved to Mayo to put on life support, where I was then put into a medically induced coma for about 3.5 weeks, to then where I woke up with all the major amputations being done, so not really realizing what had happened at all.
Can you explain to people, because a lot of folks are listening and not watching this, so I know that you're real honest about sharing your story, so what had to be amputated? Yeah,
so I lost both my legs, one above the knee and one below the knee, and then on my right hand I have half of my thumb and all of my knuckles, and on my left hand I just sort of have the palm with like maybe a knuckle and a half, you could say. But that's where I was sort of woken up to at Mayo Clinic, sort of thrown into this about last May.
I can't imagine waking up and finding out that you had to have all of these amputations. Can you take me into that moment? Yeah,
and for me, when I woke up, I couldn't even tell because I was on so many different things. And so it took me a while to even realize that. And I had my hand bandages and I couldn't tell at all. And obviously my friends and family, or the doctors in my family, had told me before and stuff, but I kept forgetting. And I remember the first time it was with my PT. And she, I don't think, was ready for me to ask that question. But I just remember the look on her face and having to be told that. And that's the first time I remember being told that's when I knew I didn't have my legs, but it was more difficult to deal with the loss of my hands because I couldn't see it at first. So I think that was sort of the first time I remembered learning about it, even though it had taken a couple of times for it to stick.
How did you begin to process?
Yeah, well, thankfully they didn't fully allow me to process it because you don't want all those emotions at that time. So it definitely, I'm still processing it, but definitely a lot with they had very good therapy, and I've had a lot of good therapists and family and friends around me, and getting connected with other people who have been through similar situations and people my age going through other traumatic situations in their lives really help, and you're able to grow off of that. But yeah, just sort of getting your mind wrapped around it in new lifestyle is very hard, but you definitely have those people telling you that you hope to look for the future, and that's what they really focus you on, is striving to look out of the hospital, because you're so stuck in that spot. So their whole job is to get you out of that.
And Jess, I'm going to bring you in here in just a moment. But first, Kainoa, if you could tell me, because I think it's really important, the point you just made that, you were put in touch with other people who've been through tough things. How important was it for you to hear someone else's story who's walked through something similar or something really difficult to say to you, I went through it, I survived, you can too?
Yeah, and when I got out of the hospital a little over a year ago, just last September, I was connected immediately with this close friend of a friend, Kyle Maynard, he was born with congenital amputations, but he has lived with it his entire life, and he's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, the mount I'm going to climb, and just this great inspiration. So hearing from him and seeing how he was able to transform that tragedy into something that is inspiring to all and has radically improved his life and changed a lot of lives around the world. And it was cool seeing his power of transformation, of what he was able to turn from pain into something great. And purpose, and I was really drawn to that, and that really motivated me a lot to sort of look past the immediate and get out of that little sphere,
Boy, you're good, because you brought me right to the perfect point in the interview. So you mentioned there that you're about to go on a major climb, and that brings us to our friend Jesse Holland. So you guys got connected, and Jesse is trainer's not the right word. You are a coach of mental strength, of emotional strength, of physical strength. Tell me how you first met Kainoa.
Thanks again, Carey, for having us today. Kainoa and I first met a little over a year ago at a charity event at K2 Adventures, and Kainoa was the speaker at our event, and the culmination of the event, I had came over and talked to Kainoa and asked him what his plans were for the year ahead. He had moved me and inspired me within the speech that he had given us during the event, and asked him if he did not have any other plans, then I'd be happy to help him in moving forward.
So how did you specifically help him begin to take the steps forward that he would need to take to now, in really a relatively short period of time, be going to Australia to climb this mountain? Jesse, I know that you're big on showing him that he can do it. You don't want the victim mentality, right?
Yeah, most certainly. I think I coach that way for anybody and everybody. Kainoa often shows me, and I think everybody, what we can do, and that we're not a victim. Often we will approach an objective or a target, and within a day or a session of talking about what he's looking to achieve, he immediately does it. And that to me is absolutely astounding to see from a coaching standpoint. I've worked with thousands of people that don't have the capabilities that he has to move towards his goals so rapidly. It's really been a pleasure to be a part of. In
terms of how you train him, Jesse, talk to me about where you started, because I think this is important for everyone. You are so motivating. If you decide that you're not going to just allow yourself to be bound to a wheelchair, sitting in your house depressed, boy, you can inspire a whole lot of people to get off their behinds and get out there and make it happen. So Jesse, where did you begin in terms of the training?
Well, and our approach was towards objective. Our first objective was golf club, right?
I think getting up on the legs and having the stamina and endurance to
go through the swing.
Go through the swing, and you will just stand up.
Yeah. So at that point, defining target objective, we went through a lot of structural reinforcement and strengthening, starting in the hips and then moving through the core. And ancillaries from that piece were direct to target objective. Our first target, he knocked met out in the park, but rather way off the tee. And we moved forward from there. He's done 2 tournaments that you've teed off on. Right? And
I saw those pictures. You were looking good.
Thank you. Yeah.
And now tell me about the climb. Why did you want to do this, and where are y'all going?
Yeah, so we are going to be going to Mount Kosciuszko. I think that's how it's pronounced, in Australia. And it's one of the 7 summits of the world. So it's the highest mountain on the Australian continent. And that'll be really fun to do. And I don't know, before this whole thing, I wasn't really like driven by climbing mountains and all that stuff. But I was an international affairs major. So I did have that desire to travel and experience that type of the world. And so I think it was just sort of proving to myself almost that, yeah, like no matter what, you can still climb on a mountain, which is like the epitome of what it means to have legs, right? Is to climb up a vertical mountain, stand on top of a summit. And sort of to do the opposite of what it means to be in a wheelchair was sort of motivating, and to do it in a recumbent bike, in a wheelchair almost, and to be able to have the option to walk up it too. So to be able to have both is almost proving a better point for me that you can't even do it in a wheelchair, even for those who don't have the privilege of using prosthetics. So that was really a cool thing for me, to be just able to prove the exact opposite of what people think that you are when you're in a wheelchair.
How do you feel today?
Very different from where I was a year ago. And I think a lot of that was getting that physical motion back into your life and having that physical health, because a lot of the beginning process was just rebuilding to what I was before. It was getting, like, these bracelets fell all the way to the bottom of my elbow, not sitting at the top of my wrist. So that, when I put that on, that was a real shock for me in the hospital. And I remember seeing that and just being like, wow, you really are skinny. Like where the shirt falls on you is not where it's supposed to. And so I guess being able to see that growth almost was really cool. But I think like improving your mental health starts with improving your physical health for me. And well, I think they go in conjunction with each other. And I think I'm definitely in a better place overall because of this physical training and having these goals-oriented setting.
How do people respond to you?
In what way?
I mean, do you have to often explain what happened? Or I know you've had a ton of community support.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I've had an incredible journey that's a lot different than most people in my situation. I've had unwavering support from the community, and just being able to see a lot of what was already here. And I think it just shone a light on the power of this community already. And if this is just a template for that, then that's awesome. And I love that. It's not really showing it's about me. It's showing what the power of a community can do for a family in time of need and stuff like that. And I think just because you do have people who just stare, and that's worse than just asking the question. Like, their kid will ask the question. I'm like, oh, see, the kid got it. And but
kids are very wise.
Yeah. And so no, but it has been really an incredible, just looking back on all of what we had this last year and seeing how it could be very different without those things. I think that was what really showed it for me, and just seeing how I was received by like leaving the hospital and all these different little events that you can constantly remind yourself that, yeah, there is this powerful community right around you.
Looking at you, I can see a lot of positivity in you. You feel pretty excited about your future.
Yeah.
And you truly are blessed to be alive.
Definitely. Every day. I know that for sure.
What do you see for your future?
Yeah, and I think that is always like a good thing for me, to always look to that future and have that constant reminder that like you're just not stuck in this moment. And what really drives me is being able to have this place or this space in the community to give back. And whether that's a nonprofit or a business or something like that, I want to be able to have that space to be able to give back and be able to have a place for people who don't have the same privilege and resources that I do, to be able to have access to those things and be able to get connected to all the resources we have out there that just so many people don't know about. And we've been able to be blessed within a community that's allowed me to tap into those very well. And I really want to be able to spread that message with like mental health is just such an important and like taking care of it daily, because if I didn't take care of it daily, then it can overwhelm me, and it still does. And I sit here positive, but like
you have some dark days.
Yeah,
no one can blame you for
does,
that. Yeah,
and everyone does. But I think nothing's wrong with having those. But the best part of that is knowing that it's going to end and setting that end date. You can feel bad for yourself on a Sunday and eat the worst food for yourself. Watch all the movies you want. Sit on the couch. But know on Monday, like when you wake up, that that's the end and that you're moving forward and that it's no longer that sad because you're not in that space, and you have to be able to put an end date to that almost. And that framework for me really allowed me to be able to be okay with releasing that emotion in times when you really need to, but being strong enough to pull yourself back and being able to like, all right, yeah, this is where you were in your life, but look at what you have and look at where you're going to be. And
all the possibilities.
All the possibilities.
And I see around your neck you're wearing an intention stick.
Yes.
By my friend Scott and Marla Berger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That intention stick, inside of it has, I assume, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 words written on it that you keep inside. I'm not going to ask you because those are your personal words, but what has the power of intention done for you?
Yes, definitely. And I was gifted it by our good friend Letitia,
Tish Fry, one of my faves.
And just like, that's just another moment that just shows you the beauty of this whole experience almost, of just how I was gifted this, of being connected with her and being connected with Jesse and you. And but for me, living with intention, because I can't have and know where I'm going to go without setting my intentions. Like, you can't set out into the world without a map or what you want to do. And allowing me to have this as a constant reminder to sit with me every day and sit in the morning and recite those things that what I want to hold that dear in that day. I think that's how I want to say it. But like, just sort of hold with intention. Mm-hmm. And it really allows you to sort of just move with confidence throughout your day and not aimlessly. And I think that's where so many people don't even know what they want to live for or live by. And so I think setting your intentions and figuring out what you stand for really allowed me to make it easier to know where I want to go. Given
what you have gone through, I think it's really important to ask you, I think what takes a lot of people down who go through various difficulties is the question, why? Why me? And that's a victim question. Mm-hmm. How have you prevented yourself from falling into that?
Yeah. And I think you can I can respond with why not me? And because like, when I was in the hospital, I hated when everyone was telling me this is happening to you for a reason. You'll see this as a gift later on in your life. And I know I will. But it was my right to feel that when I wanted to. I have a major connection with God, and he truly allows me, and my faith truly allows me to sort of have that first breath of just like, okay, there's something greater for this purpose, and it's trying to find those motivating factors that allow you to live outside of yourself. You have to start motivating and have enough love for yourself if you want to put enough love in the world. So it definitely starts with yourself, but you have to find those factors that motivate you when you don't want to motivate yourself. Because if it was only me, if I was only working for me, I probably wouldn't get out of bed a lot of the days because it's just impacting me. But I know my message and what a lot of the things people see me as is a lot more than just myself. And I'm getting up for my parents, I'm getting up for my little brother to be able to, and to show other people or other people who I know who are struggling, who are missing limbs, who I know who are just going through terrible times. And you know that like by me getting up, I'm proving that I can do it, that you can do it. And really no matter what we have in front of us, it's pretty incredible who we have around us can make what we want to do in the future a lot more tangible, for me at least. The power community is really what allowed me to answer that why question, because it shone a light on this beautiful community. That's why, at the end of it.
Well, you're doing amazing, and we're going to follow along with your journey. And you guys are going to vlog for us. Did you know that, Kainoa? I signed you up to be a vlogger. Awesome. And you can check in on inspiredmedia360.com. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thanks again
Thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Yeah.